The galaxy belonged to the Ascendancy, and it had been theirs for 50,000 years. Their ships moved through space like legends made real, hulls shimmering with energy that bent light itself. They did not ask for permission to enter a system. They did not negotiate with lesser beings. They simply arrived, and entire civilizations fell to their knees. Commander Radiance of Eternal Dawn stood in the observation chamber of his flagship, the Celestial Mandate. He was not standing in the way other beings did. His form was pure energy, contained within a field of golden light that pulsed with his thoughts. Around him, the chamber's walls displayed 1,000 worlds, all of them under Ascendancy control, all of them worshipping at the feet of their betters. The Luminar had been the first to achieve godhood, or so the legend said. They had shed their physical forms 10,000 years ago, becoming beings of pure thought and energy. Next came the Architects, their crystalline bodies capable of manipulating matter at the molecular level. They built the great star temples and the dimensional gateways. Finally, the Veil joined the Ascendancy, their psychic powers able to touch minds across entire star systems. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were divine. Radiance watched as a new species, the Kelthera, performed their submission ceremony on the display. They were reptilian creatures with scales that changed color with their emotions. Right now, those scales showed fear, purple and deep blue, the colors of terror and awe. Their leader pressed his forehead to the ground before a Luminar emissary, speaking the words that every species eventually spoke. We recognize the Ascendancy as the rightful rulers of all space. We accept the doctrine of hierarchy. We are lesser and we will serve. It was always the same. Some species resisted at first, but a simple demonstration of power changed their minds. Radiance had personally overseen hundreds of these submissions. He would disintegrate a moon, or stop a planet's rotation for exactly 1 minute, or reach into the mind of their leader and show them visions of cosmic horror. After that, they always knelt. The door to the observation chamber opened with a sound like singing crystal. An architect entered, its body a beautiful lattice of living diamond that refracted light into rainbow patterns. This one was called Structure of Perfect Order, and it served as Radiance's strategic advisor. "Commander," Structure said, its voice like wind chimes, "we have detected a new spacefaring species in Sector 779. They call themselves humans." Radiance turned his attention to the architect. "Another one? What is this, the fourth this cycle?" "The fifth, actually. But this one is different. They always think they are different." Radiance moved to the tactical display, and the image shifted to show a yellow star with 8 planets. What makes these humans special? Structure manipulated the display with a thought, and data began to flow across the screen. They have spread to 17 systems in only 300 years. Their technology is primitive but functional. They use chemical rockets, nuclear fusion, and basic energy weapons. Nothing we have not seen 1,000 times before. Then why waste my time? Because they have been observing us, Commander. We detected their scanning equipment pointed at our border systems. They have been watching us for at least 50 years, maybe longer. That was unusual. Most species were so overwhelmed by their first glimpse of the Ascendancy that they either hid in fear or came forward in wonder. To quietly observe for decades showed unusual patience. "Perhaps they are wise," Radiance said. "They study before approaching. This will make their submission easier. They will understand what they face." "Perhaps," Structure agreed, though something in its tone suggested doubt. Radiance dismissed the concern. He had lived for 8,000 years. He had seen species with technology almost as advanced as the Ascendancy's early days. He had seen warrior races that lived only for battle. He had seen hive minds with trillions of bodies. All of them knelt eventually. All of them accepted the truth. The Ascendancy was eternal. The Ascendancy was inevitable. The Ascendancy was divine. "Prepare an emissary fleet," Radiance commanded. 30 ships should be sufficient. We will travel to their primary world and accept their submission. If they have been watching us, they will know what is expected." Structure bowed, its crystalline body bending in a way that would have shattered normal matter. "As you command." "Should we bring the usual tribute demands?" "Of course. 10% of their gross production, full technology sharing, acceptance of Ascendancy governors on all major worlds, and the construction of temples on each planet. Standard terms for a new species. And if they refuse?" Radiance laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "They never refuse. Not after they see what we are. Not after they understand that we are as far above them as they are above insects. Structure left to make the preparations, and Radiance returned to his observation of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, these humans were going about their simple lives, unaware that their entire existence was about to change. They would resist at first, perhaps. Many species did. They would puff up their pride and speak brave words about freedom and independence. Then Radiance would show them the truth. He would demonstrate power beyond their comprehension. He would make them understand that the universe had an order, and that order placed the ascendancy at the top. They always understood in the end. They always knelt. These humans would be no different. Just another species added to the great tapestry of the ascendancy's empire. Just another group of lesser beings who would spend their existence in service to their betters. Radiance of Eternal Dawn had no doubt about this. He had never been wrong before. The fleet would leave within the week. The diplomatic station hung in the void between stars, a neutral meeting ground built specifically for first contacts. It was a human construction, simple and functional, with none of the artistic flourishes that older species preferred. Just metal and composite materials arranged in a wheel shape, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Ambassador David Chen waited in the main conference room, his hands folded calmly on the table before him. He was a thin man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him stood 2 aides and a security officer, though what good security would do against beings who could manipulate energy with their thoughts? He had no idea. Through the viewport, he watched the Ascendancy fleet approach. 30 ships, each one larger than humanity's biggest carrier. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls shimmering with colors that hurt to look at directly. No visible engines, no thrusters, just smooth motion that defied everything humanity understood about physics. They certainly know how to make an entrance, said Ambassador Chen's aide, Maria Reyes. Her voice was steady, but her hand trembled slightly as she held her datapad. That is the point, Chen replied. Shock and awe. Make us feel small before negotiations even begin. The lead ship, the Celestial Mandate, pulled alongside the station. A beam of golden light shot out from its hull and connected to the station's docking port. Through that beam, the Ascendancy delegation walked on what appeared to be solid light itself. The conference room doors opened, and the gods entered. Radiance of Eternal Dawn came first, his energy form contained in a field of brilliant gold that made the room's light seem dim by comparison. Behind him floated Structure of Perfect Order, the architect's crystalline body refracting the light into dancing patterns on the walls. Last came a veil named Whisper of Infinite Thought, a being that appeared as a vague humanoid shape, made of purple mist with too many eyes that opened and closed randomly across its surface. Chen stood and bowed politely, a simple gesture of respect between equals. He did not kneel. Welcome to Station Zenith 7, Chen said. I am Ambassador David Chen, representing the United Earth Systems and our colonial worlds. We are honored by your presence. Radiance pulsed brighter, and when he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. You are honored indeed, human. We are the Ascendancy, rulers of this galaxy for 50,000 years. We have come to accept your submission and integrate your species into the proper order of things. Chen sat back down and gestured for the Ascendancy delegation to take their places. They did not sit. They simply hovered above the chairs, making it clear they were above such mundane concerns as furniture. I am afraid there has been a misunderstanding, Chen said carefully. We did not request integration. We requested diplomatic contact to establish peaceful coexistence. Structure's crystalline body chimed with what might have been laughter. You misunderstand your position, human. We are not offering a choice. All species in this galaxy exist within the Ascendancy's domain. You will accept our governance, pay tribute, and worship as is proper. Chen pulled out a datapad and scrolled through it slowly. I have reviewed your standard terms. 10% of our total production, full technology sharing, acceptance of your governors on all our worlds, and the construction of temples for worship. Is that correct? It is, Radiance confirmed. These are generous terms for a species as primitive as yours. I see. Chen set down the datapad and looked directly at the golden light that was Radiance. The answer is no. The room went silent. Even the ambient hum of the station systems seemed to pause. Whisper of Infinite Thought spoke for the first time, its voice a chorus of whispers that came from inside Chen's own mind. No, you do not understand. We are not asking. We are informing. I understand perfectly, Chen said. You are very powerful. You have technology we cannot match. You have ruled this galaxy for a very long time. None of that changes our answer. We do not kneel to anyone. We will not accept governors or pay tribute. We will maintain our independence. Radiance moved forward until he was directly in front of Chen, the heat from his energy form making the ambassador's face shine with sweat. You speak from ignorance. Let me educate you. The viewport's display changed, showing the space outside. A large asteroid tumbled past the station, a chunk of rock and ice perhaps 2 kilometers across. Radiance raised what might have been a hand, and the asteroid simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, no flash of light. It was there, and then it was not, as if reality had decided it never existed in the first place. We can do this to your worlds, Radiance said. To your ships, to your people. We are as far above you as you are above bacteria. This is not a negotiation. This is education. Chen watched the space where the asteroid had been. His expression did not change. That is impressive. We can destroy asteroids too, though our methods are less elegant. But the answer is still no. Structure chimed again, this time with genuine confusion. You saw what we did. You understand we can erase your entire species with a thought. Why do you still refuse? Because we have spent our entire history fighting for our freedom, Chen said. We have fought against kings and emperors. We have fought against dictators and tyrants. We have fought against anyone who told us we were lesser, that we should accept our place, that we should kneel. Sometimes we lost. Sometimes it took generations. But we always fought, and we always won eventually. Foolish, Whisper said, its many eyes focusing on Chen. We have conquered thousands of species. Many were stronger than you. All of them submitted. Chen stood up and straightened his jacket. Then we will be the first who did not. You came here expecting us to fall at your feet because of your power. But power is not the same as right. You can destroy us, perhaps, but you cannot make us kneel. Radiance pulsed with what might have been anger, his golden light turning red at the edges. You have one cycle of your planet's rotation to reconsider. We will return to this location in exactly 1 standard day. If you have not agreed to our terms, we will select one of your colony worlds and demonstrate what happens to those who defy the divine order. We will not change our minds, Chen said quietly, but you should know something before you leave. We have been watching you for decades. We know how your technology works. We know your tactics. We know your weaknesses. If you attack any human world, you will regret it. Structure's crystalline laughter filled the room. You know our weaknesses. Child, we have none. We are perfection made manifest. Everyone has weaknesses, Chen replied. Even gods. The Ascendancy delegation departed in a beam of light, leaving the human negotiating team alone in the conference room. As soon as they were gone, Maria Reyes turned to Chen, her face pale. Sir, did we just declare war on gods? Chen looked out at the space where the Ascendancy fleet was already departing. We declared something more important than that, Maria. We declared that we are not slaves. Now we see if we can back it up. New Aberdeen was a beautiful world, with green continents and blue oceans that reminded the colonists of Earth. 4 million humans called it home, living in cities that blended into the natural landscape, rather than dominating it. They had been there for 60 years, long enough for children to be born who had never seen humanity's homeworld. Governor Patricia Okafor stood on the balcony of the Planetary Administration Building, watching the sky. Somewhere up there beyond the clouds and atmosphere, the Ascendancy fleet had just arrived. 50 ships this time, twice what they had sent to the diplomatic station. The message was clear, her communicator chirped. Governor, they are broadcasting on all frequencies. Should I put it through? Do it, Patricia said. Radiance of eternal dawn's voice filled the air, coming from every speaker in the city, every communicator, every device capable of receiving a signal. People of New Aberdeen, I am Commander Radiance of Eternal Dawn of the Ascendancy. Your representatives refused our generous offer of protection and guidance. This was foolish. Now you will learn what happens to those who deny the divine. Patricia activated her own broadcast, her voice carrying to every human on the planet. This is Governor Okafor. Evacuation protocols are in effect. Get to the shelters. Our defense fleet is launching. Stay calm and trust in our people. Above the planet, 12 human warships rose from their orbital stations. They were crude compared to the Ascendancy vessels, built from steel and composite armor, powered by fusion reactors that would have seemed laughably primitive to the beings they now faced. But they were crewed by men and women who had volunteered to stand between their homes and destruction. Admiral James Park commanded the defense fleet from the bridge of the UES Defiance. He was a veteran of the colony wars, a man who had seen combat against pirates and rogue military groups, but he had never faced anything like this. "All ships battle formation Delta," Park ordered. "Do not fire until they do. Maybe they are bluffing." But they were not bluffing. The Ascendancy fleet opened fire without warning. Beams of pure energy that existed partially in other dimensions phased through the human ship's armor as if it were not there. Quantum disruptors caused fusion reactors to simply stop working, leaving ships dead in space. Singularity missiles created tiny black holes that ate through hulls like acid through paper. The UES Defiance shook as a beam struck its port side, cutting through 3 decks and killing 40 crew members in an instant. Park gripped his chair as the damage reports flooded in. "Return fire. All weapons." The human ships unleashed everything they had. Railguns fired slugs of dense metal at a fraction of light speed. Missile pods launched swarms of fusion warheads. Energy weapons, primitive compared to the Ascendancy's technology but still deadly, lanced out toward the enemy fleet. Nothing hit. The Ascendancy ships moved with impossible grace, dodging attacks before they were even fired. Their shields redirected kinetic energy harmlessly into space. The fusion warheads detonated against barriers that existed in dimensions the humans could not even perceive. One by one, the human ships died. The UES Courage broke in half, its reactor overloading and taking 300 souls with it. The UES Determination had its bridge cut away by a precision beam, killing everyone inside. The UES Liberty simply vanished, pulled into a pocket dimension and crushed out of existence. On the ground, Patricia watched the battle through her command center's displays. Tears ran down her face as each ship winked out, as each crew ceased to exist. They had known this was possible. They had known the Ascendancy's power, but they had hoped somehow that human courage and determination would be enough. It was not. Within 20 minutes, all 12 ships were destroyed. The Ascendancy fleet had not even been scratched. Radiance's voice boomed across the planet again. "Your defenders are gone. Your cities are helpless. We will now demonstrate the price of defiance. Watch your capital city turn to glass." The Celestial Mandate moved into position directly above New Aberdeen's largest city, home to 800,000 people. Energy began to gather along its hull, a terrible light that promised destruction beyond imagining. Patricia activated the planetary broadcast one last time. "This is Governor Okafor. I am sorry. I am so sorry." We tried. The light grew brighter and brighter still, and then a new voice cut across every frequency, calm and cold and absolutely certain. "This is UESS Indomitable. You have 5 minutes to withdraw from this system." On the Celestial Mandate's bridge, Radiance turned to structure in confusion. "A single ship? They send a single ship against my fleet?" The displays showed the newcomer. It was larger than the human defense ships, a dreadnought that bristled with weapons and armor. But it was still just one ship against 50, still just primitive human technology against the power of gods. Radiance felt something he had not experienced in millennia. Not fear, surely, but perhaps a tiny whisper of concern. "All ships," he commanded. "Destroy that vessel. Leave nothing but atoms." The Ascendancy fleet turned as one and opened fire. Hundreds of weapons that could crack planets discharged simultaneously, all focused on a single target. The space around the Indomitable lit up like a newborn star, so bright that sensors overloaded trying to process it. When the light cleared, the Indomitable was still there. It had not even slowed down. On the planet, Patricia stared at the display in disbelief. "How?" On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Maria Okonkwo smiled grimly. Evasive pattern Alpha 7. "Athena, you have weapons free." "Acknowledged, Captain," replied the ship's artificial intelligence. Engaging, the Indomitable fired its first shot. A railgun slug, accelerated to 0.95% of light speed, crossed the distance to the nearest Ascendancy ship in milliseconds. It punched through the alien vessel's dimensional shields like they were not there, and tore through the ship from bow to stern. The Ascendancy ship went dark and began to tumble, all its systems failing at once. Radiance stared at his displays in shock. "Impossible. Nothing can penetrate our shields. Nothing." But the Indomitable was already firing again and again and again. Each shot found its mark. Each shot killed. Structure's voice was filled with something the architect had never felt before. "Commander, that ship is predicting our movements. It knows where we will be before we move. It is firing at where we will be, not where we are. Then move unpredictably. We are trying. It does not matter. Whatever intelligence controls that ship, it has analyzed our tactics perfectly." On New Aberdeen, 4 million humans watched in stunned silence as a single human warship began to tear apart a fleet of gods. And they began to hope. The battle had only just begun. The Indomitable moved through the Ascendancy fleet like a shark through a school of fish. Every movement was precise, calculated, perfect. The ship twisted and rolled, its hull passing within meters of devastating energy beams that would have vaporized any other vessel. But the beams hit nothing but empty space. On the bridge, Captain Okonkwo watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Beside her command chair, a holographic figure flickered into existence. It appeared as a woman with silver skin and eyes that processed information faster than any biological mind could comprehend. "Athena, status report," Okonkwo said. The artificial intelligence spoke in a calm, measured tone. "We have disabled 17 enemy vessels. 0 damage to Indomitable. The Ascendancy fleet is attempting to implement randomized movement patterns, but their quantum computers have predictable randomization algorithms. I have compensated. They built their technology to fight other advanced civilizations," Okonkwo said. "They forgot how to fight unpredictability." "Correct, Captain. They have not fought a true war in over 40,000 years. They have forgotten the basics." The Indomitable fired another salvo. This time it was not railguns but electromagnetic pulse torpedoes, specially designed weapons that humanity had developed specifically for this day. The torpedoes detonated in a carefully calculated pattern around 6 Ascendancy ships. Waves of electromagnetic energy washed over the alien vessels. Their systems crashed. The Ascendancy ships relied on quantum computers to maintain their dimensional shields, to predict enemy movements, to control their exotic weapons. Those computers were sophisticated beyond human understanding. But they had one weakness. They could not handle massive electromagnetic interference. It was too simple, too primitive. Like a master swordsman being defeated by someone who simply threw sand in his eyes. 6 more ships went dark, floating helplessly in space. On the celestial mandate, chaos erupted. Radiance of Eternal Dawn's golden light flickered with what might have been panic. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "How does a single primitive ship defeat us?" Structure of Perfect Order's crystalline body had lost its luster, the light refracting through it now dim and wrong. "They are not fighting us with superior technology. They are fighting us with superior tactics. They studied us, Commander. For 50 years they studied us, learned our patterns, found our weaknesses. We have no weaknesses. Apparently we do." Another ship died, its reactor overloading as a railgun slug punched through its containment field. The explosion was beautiful and terrible, a miniature sun that briefly illuminated the entire system. Whisper of Infinite Thought reached out with its psychic powers, trying to touch the minds of the humans aboard the Indomitable. Perhaps it could sow confusion or fear or make them hesitate for just a moment. Its consciousness brushed against the ship's crew and it felt their emotions. There was no fear. There was determination, cold and hard as diamond. There was purpose. There was anger, carefully controlled and directed. These humans had watched their defense fleet die. They had watched their people nearly be destroyed. And now they were teaching the Ascendancy what it meant to threaten humanity. The veil withdrew, shaken. Their minds. "They are not afraid of us, make them afraid," Radiance commanded, but the Indomitable gave them no time. The dreadnought accelerated, its fusion drives pushing it to speeds that should have been impossible for something so massive. It charged directly at the celestial mandate, weapons firing continuously. "Evasive maneuvers," Radiance ordered. The flagship tried to move, but Athena had already calculated every possible escape route. Railgun slugs bracketed the mandate's position, forcing it into an increasingly smaller area of space. Then the Indomitable fired its main weapon. The magnetic accelerator cannon was humanity's masterpiece of engineering. It was simple in concept, using magnetic fields to accelerate a projectile to incredible speeds. But the execution was anything but simple. The slug it fired massed 50 tons and moved at 98% of light speed. The Celestial Mandate's shields tried to redirect the kinetic energy. They failed. There was simply too much force, too much mass, too much momentum. The slug punched through the shields, through the exotic armor, through 3 kilometers of ship and out the other side. The Mandate's systems began to fail. Dimensional gateways collapsed. Quantum computers crashed. Energy fields that had been maintained for thousands of years flickered and died. All ships, retreat, Radiance commanded. But it was too late. The Indomitable was among them now, firing at point-blank range. Every shot found its mark. Every torpedo hit home. The human dreadnought moved with mechanical precision, showing no mercy, giving no quarter. Okonkwo watched as the Ascendancy fleet, these beings who called themselves gods, broke and ran. 33 ships tried to flee. The Indomitable let them go. Destroying a fleeing enemy was not the point. The point was to send a message. 17 ships remained, all of them disabled and drifting. The Celestial Mandate was the largest prize, and Okonkwo intended to claim it. Boarding teams. "You are authorized to launch," she said. 30 assault craft detached from the Indomitable, each one carrying 20 Marines in powered armor. They crossed the distance to the damaged flagship and cut through the hull with plasma torches. The Marines poured into the ship, weapons ready. The Celestial Mandate had never been designed for internal combat. Its corridors were wide and beautiful, decorated with art from 1,000 worlds. There were no defensive positions, no bulkheads, no choke points. The Marines moved through it like a training exercise. They found Radiance of Eternal Dawn in the command chamber, his energy form flickering weakly. Around him, the remaining crew of Luminars and Architects stared at the humans with expressions of disbelief. Sergeant Marcus Williams raised his weapon, a specialized containment projector designed specifically for energy beings. "Commander Radiance of Eternal Dawn, you are under arrest for attempted genocide and war crimes against humanity." "You cannot imprison a god," Radiance said, but his voice was weak. "Watch us," Williams replied, and activated the containment field. Golden light flared once, twice, and then was drawn into a specialized container that used magnetic fields and exotic matter to hold an energy being. Radiance raged inside it, but the container held. On the Indomitable's bridge, Okonkwo received the confirmation. "Sir, we have captured the Ascendancy commander. All boarding operations successful. No casualties." She allowed herself a small smile. "Good work. Secure the prisoners and prepare the disabled ships for salvage. Engineering teams are going to have a field day with this technology." Below them, on New Aberdeen, 4 million people emerged from their shelters. They looked up at the sky, at the debris field that had been an Ascendancy fleet, at the single human dreadnought that floated victorious among the wreckage. Governor Okafor's voice trembled as she broadcast to her people. "We are safe. Humanity has. We have won." In the command center, grown adults wept. They had faced the gods and survived. More than that, they had defeated them. The age of the Ascendancy's unchallenged rule was over. One human warship had proven that even gods could bleed. The High Council of the Ascendancy met in the Grand Chamber, a space that existed partially in 7 different dimensions simultaneously. It was beautiful beyond description, with walls that showed every star in the galaxy and floors that reflected infinity itself. The 3 ruling species gathered here only for the most critical decisions. Today they gathered in fear. 7 Luminars floated in a circle of golden light. 9 Architects formed a ring of crystalline beauty. 5 veils manifested as purple mist at the center. Together, they represented 50,000 years of unbroken dominance. Together, they watched the recordings from New Aberdeen and felt something they had not experienced in millennia. Doubt. The images played on repeat. 1 human ship destroying their fleet. 1 primitive vessel defeating the might of the Ascendancy. It should have been impossible. It was impossible. Yet it had happened. How? One of the Luminars demanded, its voice echoing through the chamber. "How did they do this?" An architect named Foundation of All Things analyzed the battle data with its quantum mind. They did not have better technology. Their weapons are crude. Their armor is basic. Their power generation is inefficient. Then how did they win? Asked a Veil. Because they had better tactics, Foundation replied. They studied us for 50 years. They learned our patterns, our combat doctrines, our behavioral algorithms. They found weaknesses we did not know existed. Weaknesses? The Luminar's light flared with anger. "We are the Ascendancy. We are perfection. No, Foundation said quietly. We are old. We have been dominant for so long that we forgot how to truly fight. We forgot that war is not about superior technology alone. It is about adaptation, innovation, and the willingness to accept casualties. A veil named Silence Between Stars spoke, its chorus of whispers filling the chamber. I touched their minds during the battle. They were not afraid. They knew they might die. They accepted it. Then they fought anyway. That silenced the council. To fight while knowing death was certain, to not even hesitate, was alien to beings who had not faced real mortality in thousands of years. What do we do? Another Luminar asked. Do we send the entire fleet? Destroy their worlds from a distance? Foundation manipulated the display, showing humanity's 17 systems. We could, but they have surely prepared for that scenario. And even if we succeeded, what message would it send to the other species under our control? That the Ascendancy can be forced to commit genocide because we cannot defeat a single species in fair combat? There is nothing fair about this, the Luminar protested. Perhaps that is the problem, Foundation said. In another part of the chamber, plans were being made for overwhelming force. Some council members wanted to mobilize 1,000 ships, to wipe humanity from existence as an example. Others urged caution, worried that such an action would reveal weakness rather than strength. While the Ascendancy debated, Radiance of Eternal Dawn sat in a cell aboard the UESS Indomitable. The cell was simple, just metal walls and a containment field that held his energy form. He could see nothing, hear nothing except when his captors chose to speak to him. The door opened. Captain Maria Okonkwo entered, followed by 2 guards in powered armor. She pulled up a chair and sat down, studying the contained Luminar. Do you know why you lost? She asked. Radiance's light pulsed weakly. You had analyzed our tactics. That was part of it, Okonkwo agreed. But it goes deeper. Tell me, Commander, when was the last time you were personally afraid for your life? I am eternal. I do not fear death. Exactly. You are eternal. You have been dominant for so long that you forgot what it means to struggle. You forgot what it means to fight for your survival, to innovate under pressure, to adapt or die. You think your mortality makes you stronger? Yes, Okonkwo said simply. We have spent our entire history fighting. Fighting nature, fighting each other, fighting anyone who tried to enslave us. We lose people. We mourn, we carry on. Every generation has to earn its survival. We never forgot how to fight because we never stopped fighting. Then you are savages. Maybe, Okonkwo said, or maybe we are just not complacent. You have amazing technology, Commander. Truly incredible. But technology alone does not win wars. Tactics do. Adaptability does. The willingness to take risks does. All things you forgot over 50,000 years of facing no real opposition. Radiance was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked, what happens now? Do you kill me? Put me on display? Neither, Okonkwo said. You are going home. We are releasing you and the other prisoners. We are even repairing your ships enough to make the journey. Why? Because we need you to deliver a message to your High Council. She stood and walked to the door, then looked back at the contained light that had once called itself a god. Humanity does not seek your destruction. We do not want to conquer the galaxy or build an empire. We just want to be left alone. Meet us as equals. Trade with us, exchange knowledge with us, or stay away from our space entirely. But if you attack us again, we will not show mercy. We will burn your empire to ash. You are releasing me to threaten my people? No, Okonkwo said. I am releasing you to give them a choice. The age of the Ascendancy ruling through fear is over. You can adapt to that reality, or you can fall. It is up to you. She left, and Radiance was alone with his thoughts. For the first time in 8,000 years, he felt uncertain. 3 days later, the repaired Ascendancy ships limped back to their space, carrying their prisoners home. As they traveled, another ship broadcast a message across the entire galaxy on every frequency, in every known language. Ambassador Chen's face appeared on billions of screens across 1,000 worlds. His voice was calm, steady, and absolutely certain. To all the peoples of the galaxy, this is Ambassador David Chen of humanity. You have lived under the rule of the Ascendancy for thousands of years. You have been told you are lesser. You have been told to kneel. You have been told that gods rule and mortals serve. Behind him, footage played of the battle at New Aberdeen, of the Ascendancy fleet being destroyed, of their ships fleeing in panic, The ascendancy is not divine. They are just old. They have incredible technology, but they are not invincible. They can be challenged. They can be defeated. We are humanity and we do not kneel. We will accept no masters. We offer the ascendancy peace as equals, but we will not submit. The image changed to show humanity's 17 systems, each one marked with a flag showing Earth and its colonies. This is our space. These are our worlds. Any species that approaches us in peace will be welcomed. Any species that approaches us as conquerors will learn the same lesson the ascendancy learned. We are small compared to the ancient powers of this galaxy, but we are free, and we will fight to remain free. Chen's expression softened slightly. To all the species under ascendancy rule we say this: you do not have to remain slaves. If the gods can bleed, if they can lose, if they can be made to flee, then they are not gods at all. They are just beings with technology, and technology can be matched. Freedom is possible. Independence is possible. We are living proof. The transmission ended, but its effects rippled across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, beings looked at their ascendancy overlords with new eyes. Questions were asked, questions that had not been asked in millennia. If humanity could resist, why couldn't they? The ascendancy tried to suppress the transmission, but it was too late. You cannot unring a bell. You cannot make people unlearn what they have seen. In the Grand Chamber, the High Council made their decision. There would be no war with humanity. The risk was too great, the potential cost too high. Instead, they would avoid human space, pretend humanity did not exist, and hope their empire did not crumble. But it was already crumbling. The humans had not just defeated a fleet. They had defeated an idea. The idea that the ascendancy was invincible, that resistance was futile, that the strong always ruled the weak. One human warship had shattered 50,000 years of myth in a single day. The age of gods was over. The age of free peoples had begun.